Capitalism's answer to the housing crisis? Pods and hostelries. So guys, I have a pretty interesting story for you here. Obviously, we are all aware of the massive housing crisis in the United States. I think there's somewhere between 500,000 and 1 million people homeless in the United States. And no doubt that figure has, increased exponentially, if not doubled, amidst the pandemic without, proper eviction moratoriums and things like that. But as a whole, the price of rent throughout the country, but particularly in urban centers, is completely out of control. When you take a look at the minimum wage, there's literally, nowhere in the United States where working 40 hours a week at $7.25 is enough to pay the rent. And I've actually seen some figures recently talking about if they do end up increasing the minimum wage to $15 an hour, still the vast majority of states at $15 an hour working 40 hours a week is still not enough to pay rent. And clearly the housing crisis and the rent crisis is a result of price gouging. It's a result of free market capitalism, another instance of free market capitalism being used to provide human necessities, And in these situations, the greedy people who own the capital, who own the housing, who own the means of production, gouge people as much as humanly possible so that they can make a profit. Because, you need housing, you need water, you need electricity, you need medicine. And the capitalist class realizes this, and they realize that human beings will pay anything and everything in order to have these things because they're necessities. And, there's been a lot of talk about having rent control, in the public dialogue. And obviously, I think it's clear that we are not going to get rent control anytime soon in this country. Rent control is a very practical or a very pragmatic way to deal with the housing crisis, to deal with the rent crisis. You couple rent control with mass building programs to build affordable housing apartment complexes, increase the availability of mortgages to those people who would like to buy a home. These are very practical, common sense ways in which we can solve the housing crisis. But our system in the United States, our capitalist modes of production and distribution, coupled with the completely bought and paid for government, has come up with the idea of using hostelries and prefabricated pods to solve the housing crisis. And so this first video I want to show you here is actually back from 2018, and it was like some small company or upstart or entrepreneur that, saw the housing crisis and was like, how can I make a buck out of this? How can I solve this problem while making a buck? His idea was to build pods for millennials that parents can put in their yard so that they can get them the fuck out of their house, but still make sure that they have a house. So check this video out quick, guys. So clearly that's absolutely insane. And now the last few years, I guess really the last 5 years, we have seen, the tiny house movement, which I do think is a good thing. Okay. Tiny homes, even pods like this, are a good thing to potentially temporarily solve the homelessness crisis. You can produce a fucking million of these things probably pretty cheaply and pretty quickly. Okay. We've seen instances, I think this was in Colorado, correct me if I'm wrong, where the local government had a vote to like repossess or refurbish a rundown and closed hotel and make it into a massive homeless shelter. You know, that's a good temporary fix, a Band-Aid for the homelessness crisis. You know, tiny homes, building pods like this. Yes, good. Let's do this. Let's get people off the streets. But again, it's just a short-term answer, okay? And just like with this pod movement here, I actually stumbled across another video in a Vice article going along with it, talking about how millennials are choosing to live in pods rather than rent, okay? And I just want to run this video for you guys real quick, so check it out. So, you know, first off, the pods here in this second video, I mean, this is nothing new. It's essentially a hostelry. You know, you pay $40 a night, you get a bunk, you kind of live communally. Hostels are really great for those who are traveling, you know, going abroad, or who need to travel for work and they have an extended stay, but they're not staying long enough where they want to, you know, get a lease and things like that. So, you know, hostelries are nothing new. It could be a great experience if you're traveling in your youth. But you know, the company that started this and whoever made this video, it's just another example of how like gross and completely delusional capitalists are, and how sick and delusional our society is as a whole. Like the way that both of these videos, the way that they portrayed both of these videos, is like this is like they're really pushing it like this is some sort of lasting answer to the housing crisis, is to have human beings live in pods like fucking sardines. And you know, the next thing they're gonna say is we're gonna just cryo freeze you until you can find a new job, or until we build some more houses, which we know will never fucking happen. But the reason why I'm making this video is, you know, these are not bad ideas as a temporary Band-Aid, as a temporary fix for the housing crisis. You know, living in a pod, having a bed, a warm place to sleep, and, you know, 3 meals and a cot a day is way better than sleeping on cold, hard concrete, especially in the middle of winter, okay? But it is not a lasting answer. You know, this is just an example of how incapable capitalist modes of production and capitalist modes of governance are of dealing with crises that face humanity. If we cannot make a profit from it, it is not a problem worth fixing. And I just think both of these videos are a prime example of that. But anyway, guys, I just wanted to share that with you quick and give you my thoughts on it. Let's drop some comments, get a little bit of a comment thread talking about the housing crisis. What do you think about these pods? Would you live in one? In your view, how do we realistically and lastingly solve the housing crisis in the United States? Do we need rent control? Do we need public housing? Give me your thoughts. Drop a comment. But yeah, guys, that's it. As always, I love you very much, and I'll speak with you again soon. Bye. And I know